I'm thrilled to introduce today Jerica Jech. She's a dating and love coach for women. She found herself suddenly single at 48, and through a process that she now teaches, she was able to heal from her divorce, recover her confidence, learn about men, and find love again. She got engaged just 2 years after her divorce. And yes, it was through online dating. She helps other women do the same in her signature program, Start Your Forever Relationship Right. So, Jerica, welcome. I cannot wait to hear your 3 tips for dating in midlife. And I'm going to turn it right over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you and all the single ladies out there. Because the first thing I guess I want to start with is it is different. So if you're out there dating, or maybe you have a friend who's dating in midlife, you're not crazy. It is different out there. And so there is support, there's help, and there's like actual practical tips and strategies that you can use. So today I'm going to give you 3 of those tips to midlife dating, and they're kind of going to entwine together. The first tip is really to focus on you. The second tip is to do things differently this time around. And then the third tip is to slow down. And they're all going to kind of relate together. So that first tip about focus on you, hopefully that's something in midlife that we're all kind of awakened to. I think especially as Gen X women, we've been, or maybe that's just all women, we've been spending so much of our lives focusing on others and what other people need. And it's time, it's time. I'm going to give you permission or give you the challenge to focus on you. So when we're talking about dating, so many of us, and this is, when we were younger as well, but hopefully we can change that now. We're thinking, what do men want? What do men prefer? What are their preferences? What are they looking for? Or if it's a specific man, we're thinking, how can I make him happy? Or what does he need? So I want you to do things differently. Remember, that's tip number 2 that's kind of intertwined, and to not focus so much on him, but to focus on you. And that's where you're going to have so much success in this forever relationship that you're going to start now. So one of the things that I use for myself as kind of like an alarm bell that something's not right is if you start feeling resentful. Again, this tip can be used for all relationships, right? But if you're starting to feel resentful towards another person, you're feeling like, it's not being reciprocated, or you're doing all this work, that should be an alarm bell to you to turn back to yourself. So in dating, you want to ask what do I want? And not just to ask this like once, but to continue asking it, because what we want changes. So, are you looking for marriage? Are you looking for a live-in partner? Are you just looking for a boyfriend? Are you looking for certain retirement plans together, travel? Or what do you want in a new partner, as far as like them interacting with your kids, or you interacting with them, with their kids? What are these things that you want? So I'll give you a little example from myself. I got divorced 2 years ago, and I really had to re-decide like everything in my life, because what I thought I wanted, well, that sort of died. And so I had to kind of like be reborn and think about what I wanted. And in the beginning, I just thought like, oh, I just would, it'd be just great to have a boyfriend, like somebody to pick me up a couple times a week and just take me somewhere. That would be awesome. And then as I met somebody and I started dating, I started then thinking, okay, do I want to live with somebody? Do I want to get married again? This is all very different in midlife, because it's no longer like you're meeting someone to form a nest to raise kids. And because you've already been around several blocks before with different relationships and probably failed relationships. And so what you want may be very, very different than what you wanted in the past. So keep asking that question. So that's tip number 1, to focus on you. So tip number 2 is to do things differently. See tip number 1 again, to focus back on you. But the other big thing with doing things differently that I would suggest is to actually look for that new relationship with purpose. So many of us with dating and we're looking for a man, looking for a new relationship, but we kind of, maybe it's subconscious, we kind of want it to just happen. Maybe we can blame Disney, maybe we can blame the movies, but we just want it to happen to us. And I really want to encourage you to do it differently, and not to just let it happen, but for you to actually take action and to date with purpose. Now, I'm not saying to be a robot about it and to be like, checking things off, but to really think about what you're doing, to really learn about yourself. Back to tip number 1, to kind of use dating as a process to learn about yourself, and also to learn dating as a process to learn about the men that you're dating. So doing it differently and really slowing down. Now, your own brain, because we tend to have patterns, especially as we're in midlife now, we've developed all these patterns, will tend to push you kind of down the same road. So you do have to kind of take a step back, slow down. Remember, that's tip number 3. So they kind of intertwine. Slow down so that you can purposely do things a little differently. So if you know that you've already always done a certain pattern or dated a certain man, do things differently. Maybe think about a different kind of man that you might want to date. So your brain and also our culture will tend to push you down the same road. So take a step back and do things differently. And I'll give my little example. When I was younger, I always thought it would be great to date a guy, or to be with a guy and marry a guy like me, right? I had that whole like the male version of me. Wouldn't that be great? And that didn't turn out to work out for me. So dating in midlife, I kind of thought, maybe that's not what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm looking for now somebody who can contribute something different, not the same things. So just like as a little bit more of an example, like I'm like very talkative and like flowing and creative and like more dancey maybe and energetic. So what I kind of realized is like, I kind of want to be the talkative person of the two of us. I want to be the flowy person, the dancey, creative person. So instead of like thinking that it's wrong or not something desired if I see a man who's not that way, it's like, oh, if I'm with a man who's not as talkative, that kind of like leaves me more space to be more talkative, or the same thing with the creative. And then it leaves him space to contribute to me in a different way. So maybe he can be more organized, he can be more planning, he can be more like that rock for me to be like dancing and creative. So that was a way that I looked for something differently. So then tip number 3 is to slow down. Now, this is kind of what I hinted at when I talked about our culture. I don't think I have to tell you, it seems like I've been hearing this since the 80s about how our culture is so fast now, and it just keeps speeding up like year after year, day after day. I mean, we literally like snap our fingers and can order something from Amazon and have it delivered the next day, maybe even or the same day even. I mean, it's crazy. And again, subconsciously, because we kind of have these habits, we kind of think it could be that way also in a relationship, that we could just meet someone and then be in a long-term relationship. But I really want to encourage you to do things differently. Remember, that's tip 2, and to slow down. There's so much to be gained by slowing down. First of all, if you go back to tip number 1, you're going to have time to learn more about you, to learn more about yourself and what you want. So you want to use this process, this dating process. It's a time span. It's not an instant. To, ask yourself questions like, do I like this type of man? Do I like that type of man? Oh, he likes these activities. This man likes these activities. To learn about yourself and what you want and what you need and what you like. And there's also time for you to vet the men, to observe the men or the man. Because when we go from like kind of this instant relationship, right? We meet him and then we're in a long-term relationship. That's what leads to settling. That's what leads to avoiding red flags and, kind of like falling in the trap of the red flag, or not seeing the red flag because you're not giving it time to show up. So it's actually really fun too. This slowing down really makes it fun. So I guess another part with the reason why we don't want to slow down is because a lot of women really hate dating. They don't want to meet men. They don't want to have these small talk conversations. They don't want to go through that process. I mean, heck, it's awkward, like it's uncomfortable. It's you have to like put yourself out there. But what if it could actually be fun? This early process, like this is the flirty process. This is the slow, like, ooh, what's going on over here? What's going on over there? So if you can really get into the kind of fun of it and kind of let go of the serious, like, I'm going to find a long-term relationship and go more into like, what's going on with this interesting person? Oh, I'm getting a chance to practice my small talk, or oh, I got to see a new coffee shop. Maybe now with COVID, it's just a video date. But either way, you're slowing it down, looking at dating as more something light, something fun, and something to be curious about. So you can learn about the men, learn about yourself. So that is tip number 3. I really, really encourage you to do it differently by slowing it down. So kind of to wrap everything up together, I would just remind you to rediscover yourself and what you want. And remember that going fast could mean that you end up kind of settling for the first like half decent, semi-acceptable guy who comes along. And I think that from experience, if you're dating in midlife, that you don't want to settle. So don't just meet like 5 or 10 men and then decide, oh, this is just horrible. All the men out here are jerks. You want a man who's like 1 in a million, right? So I'm not saying that you have to meet a million men, but maybe you meet more than 5 or 10, and maybe you could actually have fun, learn about yourself, learn about men through this process of dating, and then choose the right one that you want to commit to. So thank you so much, Ellen.
Wow.
And everybody.
You love everything you had to say. It is so powerful. So there's some things that jumped out at me. So the whole focus on yourself rather than, maybe what a man might want, and then showing up as the person you think that man wants is such an important concept, I think. And I think when you show up with that kind of confidence that you are authentic, that you are who you are, and you're not trying to change yourself, but mold yourself into something that might be attractive to someone, I think you become more desirable, you become more interesting, you become more attractive. Is that something you'd say?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have time to go into every single detail,
Right.
but it's actually, men want you to not be totally focused on them. They want to be part of your world. They want to be in your world. Yes, they want you to, be focused on them, but they don't want to be like your one focus.
Right.
And that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of pressure for him. And if you think about it, then you're not like bringing something to the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, so be interesting in your way by being focused on yourself and being into your own stuff and your own hobbies and friends, and leave space for him, but also don't be all about him.
Yeah. And another thing you said that I think is so important is to be open to meeting somebody different certainly than yourself, but also than what you might think your checklist is, right? Because it's like, there's some essential things I think on the checklist, maybe in terms of values, things that are really important to you. But the rest of the stuff that's a little more superficial, that maybe just be formed from, just what you're used to or what you're familiar with or whatever. My bet is you're closing a lot of doors by just being so focused, and so being open to different men than you might have met before is such great advice.
Exactly. And I think that leads to what a lot of women in midlife say, there's no good men out there. But the thing is that the way that women are looking at things is, and this is something we all do. I did this too. It seems to be kind of like a female instinct. We're looking at a man, whether it's like his online profile or if we meet him, we're looking at him and asking, could I be in a forever relationship with this person?
Right.
Instead of like, oh, I'm going to have like a conversation with this person and just chit chat with them. And they're just somebody to talk to. Like we put this heavy weight on it, and we don't allow ourselves to sample like different things. If you think about it like food or something, just have a taste, and then you can, explore that a little bit and be curious about them. And again, curious about yourself. So see it as an exploration. It's kind of fun. Like, oh, I've never dated anybody who was XYZ before. Let me go on, maybe you just go on one date and then you
Right.
realize it, or
Right.
maybe you go on a few. But the perspective that I say to look at it is, if you don't see an obvious red flag, then what the heck? Have a chit chat, have a date, have two dates. Like, you're not deciding to marry this
Right.
person. Like,
Yeah.
slow down.
Right. Right.
You're just chatting.
Yeah. The word pressure, I think, so many of us put that pressure on ourselves in all aspects of life, but certainly, when you're really yearning for that companionship,
Mm.
that relationship, and I think it shows that you're not desperate, but that you're really, really kind of wanting this so badly, and you don't let yourself then maybe sample. Maybe you jump, like you said, to the first decent guy who comes along, or you don't your criteria just go out the window. So it's really, I think, the idea of dating as exploration, and you might make some friends out of some of these dates, right? It doesn't have to be like everybody becomes a romantic partner and then you have a horrible breakup. It's like it just be friendships, and they might know somebody, they might not click with you, but they might have a friend who they'd like to introduce you to. So it's kind of like networking, in the sense that even if it's not a great fit, it's just somebody else in your world that you've met, and you never know who they know. So what's the harm? I love the whole exploration and curiosity piece of this.
Absolutely. And I think you can, if it even helps, you can even think about it as meeting people. Like, there's things you can do, once COVID lifts and we can do more stuff, you can do things like go on this website called meetup.com. You've probably heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I went on things with like singles groups. So it's women and men, and just, meet more people, meet more women, meet more men. It's back to that focus on you, so that
Yeah.
you're not coming to it with this desperation and this kind of like you said, all the pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, such an important message, and I love meetups. I used to go to a lot more than I do now. I don't know if they're doing meetups virtually now, but yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a whole other conversation. But that is such terrific advice. Thank you so much for sharing all that with my audience. And I know that you have a special gift for our viewers today. So I would
Thank
love for you
you.
to tell us a little bit more about that.
So it's a little jump start to meeting that right man and starting your forever relationship, because I know, like I said at the beginning, it's so hard. I just went through this. And when you're midlife, all your friends are not out there dating. And you're like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't get this. And so this free gift that I have, this basically worksheet, kind of takes you through like really practical stuff for this early dating, and how to slow down, how to meet
Mm,
men, just
yeah.
this really beginning stuff and the mindset. So you can find that over at lovecoachjerica.com, and you'll see it right away on that
Yeah,
page.
no, and I will definitely add your website link,
Great.
as the free gift link in the comments today. So I think I would encourage anybody who's interested in dating to go and grab it and get to know Jerica a little bit more through her website too. She has some great programs and offerings. So thank you again uh, for joining me today and for sharing your wisdom and your expertise, Jerica. Don't forget to check out Jerica's website and offer in the comments. And
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
so nice to have you.